are words we hear only in the stillness. What do the objects we inherit say? What do cities, bridges, rivers tell us? Can we hear the whisper of the stones? The resilience of the trees, the bravery of the sea and its men. Places are narratives, open narratives. Stories still to be written. Moments that challenge us and define us as characters. Whose story is it that they've told us and that we repeat? What will we do to preserve it? We are the meeting of the past and the future. Memory and movement. Tradition and innovation. Our story is written every day. We are different notes of the same score. Instead of walls, we draw paths. Yes, it is in the sense of community that our story is told. There are words we only hear in the stillness. Listen. What does a sky without borders tell us? Harmony could only be achieved through diversity in the balance of the paths. This is our purpose, our effort, and the meaning of our alliance.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you all for being here. It's an honor to me to be the foreign facilitator during this day. I hope you're having a wonderful morning. The city today is gray and some kind of mysterious, but I will say to you, this is a magnificent and friendly city. I hope you enjoy all of those points. Today we are here to discuss some points about European metropolitan authorities. It is the first time this event takes place and it's organized by Metropolitan Area of Porto. From Lyon 2019 to Porto 21, there was been a big challenge and have largely had to quickly react and provide new policies and initiatives due to a number of disruptive events, as you know, the pandemic. These areas were faced with new forms of social and economic areas. In addition, they were also on the front line of the crisis management and on many occasions without the powers and financial resources they needed. So, these including the development of briefing policy documents that could leverage greener, smarter and more resilient metropolitan areas. That's why we are here today to discuss and to think about it, because they are the key drivers of the development. Let's start by listening some of the protagonists from this Friday. The first I would like to call to the stage is the Mayor of Porto, Rui Moreira.
Dear Minister of State Modernization and Public Administration, Alexandre Leitão, Excellency, my friend, dear European Commissioner for Cohesion and Reforms, Excellency Elisa Ferreira, my dear friend, the President of Porto Metropolitan Area, the Mayor of Eduardo Vitor Rodrigues of our neighboring town. This is a sort of Budapest situation we have. Mr. Vice President of the International Relations and Cooperation of Barcelona Metropolitan Area, Ernest Maragall, all our colleagues, mayors and representatives, visitors, authorities, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. As pointed out, this morning we woke up with a sort of ghost town, but wait, the sun will shine. And I think the sun will also shine for all our works today. So welcome to the city of Porto. We are very proud to host this meeting. We are very proud that you are here today with us. When we look at what is happening in metropolitan areas throughout Europe, we have seen during the last years, and it's not only because of the pandemic, that the cities play now a vital role in change. And the Anthropocene is bringing change. We can't help it. We know it's going to change. It probably changed in a different way during the last years than we expected. But what we do know is, especially in Europe, whatever will happen with climate change, decarbonization, digital transition, will have its scope in cities. And the cities alone, by themselves, each city alone, will not be able to face the challenges which we have to meet. We will have to meet them fast. We are late in meeting those challenges. It is in cities that most of us live. It is in cities that most of us work. And what is not city is what we have to maintain. So there is this improbable balance. But we do not want to live as ants. We want to live as human beings. We want to have the capacity to create. We want to have the capacity to generate new opportunities. We want to have the chance to meet some of the dangers that we have been facing. We have not been able to understand each other too well. We are faced with migration, which has its good side, it has its bad side. We are faced, of course, with waste, with the necessity to produce in cities what we used to consume. Look at power alone, electricity alone. 5 years ago, we were thinking, where do we buy electricity for the cities? These days, we are thinking, where are we going to produce in cities? All these are fantastic changes. We are lucky, in a way, to be in charge, because it is a very improbable time. And what I expect today from all of you, hearing from all of you, is that we will be able to exchange these views in an optimistic way. It's obvious that every time humanity is faced with these challenges, there are those who fear, there are those who think it's the end of the world, there are those who think disaster will happen, there are others, and I think the majority of you is part of the others, who think these challenges can only make us better. I hope that during the day we'll be able to exchange, to hear, and in the end to come out with a very optimistic view, and yet being careful about all the challenges we are faced with. So thank you very much. It's a great honor to have you here in Porto. And of course, I hope you enjoy the city. Enjoy it. It's safe, it's different, it's multicultural. It's a very ancient city with very buoyant culture. I hope that within the works, you will have time for that. Also for the gastronomy and for the wine that, although it's called Porto, is produced on the city of this gentleman here. It's a sort of funny thing. But we are good friends, so we will not claim whose wine it is. Thank you.
I would like to say thank you to the Mayor of Porto, Rui Moreira. And after these first words, I would like to call to the stage also the President of Porto Metropolitan Area, Eduardo Vitor Rodrigues, that will tell us about the more and the specific ways and the points that are moving on this area and next challenge.
Muito obrigado. Dear Minister Alexandre Leitão, Minister of the State Modernization and Public Administration, dear Rui Moreira, my colleague from Porto, I never say that we are like Budapest because we never know who is the pest, but together we can deal with problems. Dear Ernest Mirra, Vice President of the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona, and then one of the main responsibles for us to be there, dear Elisa Ferreira, thanks a lot to our European Commissioner and the keynote speaker of this morning, dear colleagues from EMA, and I would like to say dear colleagues coming from Dublin, Helsinki, Toulouse, Bratislava, Amsterdam, Oslo, Lyon, Vienna, Warsaw, Brussels, and others following us by digital means. I think I didn't forget anyone. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot for being there, and thanks a lot for being in Porto, this beautiful city, from where you can see Vila Nova de Gaia. And thanks a lot for being in this metropolitan area of Porto, which in first place deals with the problem of all metropolitan areas. It seems that metropolitan areas are the big cities organized and in network. It's not true. In our metropolitan areas, as we know, we have cities like Porto or Vila Nova de Gaia or Matosinhos, with hundreds of thousands of inhabitants, but we have also small cities, rural areas that put us some kind of challenges in the balance between two different realities. But we call it not only two different realities, but we call it the balance of the development. As we saw in the film, in the video, amazing video, I must say, as we saw it, and as we read it, the metropolitan areas are based on the diversity, not on the main power of big cities. So here we are in this meeting taking place today after the work we have done in this last month to have our political declaration, which is going to be signed this morning. And we intend to be another partner with importance as metropolitan areas, fundamental partners in the development of Europe, its cities and its people. In the metropolitan areas of Europe, we find great potential and new challenges. the capacity to generate wealth, innovation, the possibility of the digital transition, and the commitment of green cities, as the Mayor of Porto said, in the wake of climate changes. But we also find some of Europe's biggest problems: unemployment, poverty, the creation of developed territories, or social exclusion, the most severe COVID-19 impacts, many of Europe's main climate change challenges, and green investments stemming from cities and their problems. It is in the context of these challenges, this potential, but also these challenges, that we lie ahead to define, participating in the European effort to recover after the pandemic, developing innovative urban areas, urban policies that allow the pursuit of the main European goals and major global challenges, deepening the exchange of experience between different metropolitan areas, growing together towards the diversity, but with common efforts. For this, it is important to clarify our agenda, our metropolitan agenda, already defined in 2019 in Lyon. At the same time, assuming the role of social partners, of national governments, but also of social partners of the European Union in the development of innovative policies, using with intelligence and accuracy the European funds available for all of us, and for which cities are decisive actors. That is our challenge, the challenge of the metropolitan areas, but is also the challenge of national governments and European Union. As an optimist, I believe we are going to do it. But as a realist also, I will say we must work a lot to do it. I hope this is going to be a good day of work and the first day of our next cycle of work. Thanks for your attention, and have a good working day.
Thank you so much, President of Porto Metropolitana Area, Eduardo Vitor Rodrigues. I would like to say two words. Two-thirds of European population live and work in these urban territories. So the metropolitan areas are responsible for generating 67% of the GDP and 61% of the employment in the European Union. So these are facts from we like to think about to the agendas, as Eduardo Vitor Rodrigues said. So we will move on to listen one more protagonist, the Vice President of International Relations and Cooperation of Barcelona Metropolitan Area, EMA.
Good morning. Thank you very much, all of your presence here. I would like to begin with thanking the President of Porto Metropolitan Area and President also Vilanova de Gaia, Eduardo Vitor Rodrigues, for receiving us in its so magnificent place, organization. Thank you to all the team in Porto for the organization of this work day that we have ahead. Thank you, Mayor Rui Moreira, for your words, for being here, for receiving us in Porto. This, as you said, this magnificent city. It's a long time ago that I was wishing to be here. Then I finally have reached it. Thank you to you. Minister Alessandra Leitão, thank you also for joining us today here. It's a great honor for us, and also a sign of the importance of the recognition that you are giving us. Thank you. And a very special thank you also to Commissioner Ferreira. We had the opportunity to meet in Brussels in February 2020, just a few weeks ago of the disaster. No? But we had enough time to see and to recognize her sensibility towards us, towards the concept we represent, towards this institution. Her presence here reaffirms this commitment and this sensibility. Thank you, Commissioner. EMA is the network of metropolitan areas in major cities that aims to foster dialogue among political representatives and have a bigger recognition of the metropolitan reality at national European Union level. No? It's our definition. No? We gather, has been said, 46 members that represent more than 75 million people in 20 different European countries, most of them present here or by his connection in digital means. And of course, we are working and we will work still further with our sister networks like Eurocities, Metropolis, Metrex, that is also present here. We are more and more a real strong institution in terms of in the map of European institutions. What we represent? We represent the willingness of metropolitan institutions to have a key role in the implementation of the Next Generation funds today and the cohesion policy 21-27. That's what we want to represent today as an institution. Up to now, as everyone knows, member states have been, how to say, reluctant to involve us in the preparation of his respective national plans. We have talked, we have heard it, but we have not been really involved in this process. Well, that everybody knows, European Metropolitan Authority institution, us, all of us, we are opening a real space in the institutional architecture of the European Union. And I want to share with you that in the last month, it's a good news. In the last month, thank you for it also, Commissioner Ferreira, EMA was chosen to participate in the expert group dialogue with partners at the EU level in the field of the cohesion policies, and the group that leads Commissioner Ferreira. That's good news for us. We want to be present in the future partnerships also of the European Union urban agenda. We know that we have a specific role and great expertise to share in terms of housing, economic development, urban planning, sustainable mobility, energy transition, digital and social policies. You are experts on all of these issues. As it was said yesterday in the meeting we had here yesterday in the evening, we are the missing link, was said, between nations, states, and cities, villages, people. Beyond the administrative borders, beyond these administrative borders, we are the nodes of the real network that appears in our societies in these times, more and more every day. A real network made of living, working, creating, but also a network of people, a network of public services, a network of institutions, of corporations, of the whole society. We are now in phase of a double emergency. I think it's clear. Double emergency compounded by COVID-19, it's still here, and it reappears every 3 months with stronger effects. And then with economic, social consequences in all of our territories, mainly in the metropolitan areas, of course, also. But we have to also in the middle of this mix of hopes and deceiving of meetings as Glasgow COP26, where there is a clear evidence that we cannot step back in climate change. Cities, metropolitan areas, we know it perfectly. We have showed our commitment. real aspiration to have a role in this real fight that we have ahead in the next years. The effort we are doing on all these items, pandemic, climate change, climatic change, etc., the effort we are doing by our means, by our resources, by our commitment, and by our institutions all around Europe, needs to be sustained and complemented with EU co-responsibility and with EU funding. Let's say it clearly. We have a lot of very good, mature projects to benefit our citizens. We have prepared it. We have worked on it in the frame of the Next Generation program. We put all our hopes on this also. And as an example, we will distribute this document with a first short list of transformative projects that all different metropolitan areas have been preparing. And we will, of course, present to you, Commissioner and Minister. I think, how to say, we are the best evidence of the subsidiarity principle. A principle that is established, clearly established. It should be compulsory, but it's not applied in the full sense by European Union institutions. I think we can agree on this. Then we want to be included in the European map of public institutions. We want to be included openly, clearly, definitely in the European map of public institutions with functions and concrete responsibilities. We are able to assume this role and these responsibilities. We want to be recognized in these fields because we are able to do it better than other institutions of levels of government. And we know it perfectly. But also in the name of a democratic principle that says clearly that decisions have to be taken in the real level where people live, where people receive the effects of the measures taken or the decisions taken. The city is the people, as had been said from hundreds of years ago. I think we are the real representation in most terms, in everyday more specific terms. We represent the goals, the aspirations, the hopes, and the fears of these peoples. I think, as you know, we will sign it after this ceremony, our political declaration. It's not just, precisely, it cannot be just a declaration. It's a political commitment also. It's a document, I think, sincerely, to be read, to be assumed, to be transformed in real action, in practice. By ourselves as institutions, but also with the results of our relations with European institutions and with our member states. The main works in this political declaration are commitment, take action, we are ready for, and we want a greater involvement. All of these you are, all of these we will work today, all of these we will gain in the next months and years. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vice President of International Relations and Cooperation of Barcelona Metropolitan Area. So this is a main idea. We need to face this challenge. We need to face all these points of as the challenge of transport, environment, social inclusion, and but we can forget increasing demand services and well-being, human well-being. So the cities can improve that, but not only with the metropolitan areas, only the government and the policies. That's why I would like to call to the stage a Minister of State, Modernization and Public Administration, Alexandre Leitão. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm very happy and honored to be here at the European Metropolitan Authorities Forum meeting in this beautiful city of Porto. Thank you for inviting me, Eduardo Vitor Rodrigues. I will now speak in Portuguese, if you don't mind. Caro Presidente da Área Metropolitana do Porto, Eduardo Vitor Rodrigues, caro Sr. Vice-Presidente para Relações Internacionais da Área Metropolitana de Barcelona, caro Sr. Presidente da Câmara do Porto, cara Comissária Europeia, Dra. Elisa Ferreira. Gostaria de começar por agradecer, como já fiz em inglês, o amável convite para aqui estar presente, neste fórum que retomamos passado 2 anos de pandemia. Na verdade, pelos motivos que sabemos, muitos destes eventos tiveram que ser adiados e é com grande satisfação que todos nós voltamos a estar presencialmente e a discutir estes e outros assuntos de tanta importância. As cidades desempenham um papel fundamental no desenvolvimento das sociedades e no bem-estar das pessoas. Esta pandemia, aliás, veio evidenciar que não há uma resposta pública forte e efetiva sem os governos locais. E as áreas metropolitanas foram, naturalmente, absolutamente insubstituíveis na resposta dada durante a pandemia, uma vez que concentram milhões de pessoas. Quase 2/3 da população europeia vivem e trabalham nas áreas metropolitanas, que geram 67% do PIB europeu e 61% do emprego na União Europeia. E por isso também é verdade dizer que os efeitos da pandemia foram provavelmente mais fortes e mais sentidos nas áreas urbanas da Europa e em todo o mundo. E por isso é também aí que teve maior impacto. É verdade que, ao assinar o Green Deal, todos os 27 Estados-membros se comprometem a transformar a União Europeia no primeiro continente com neutralidade carbónica até 2050. Para alcançar este objetivo, comprometemos-nos a reduzir as emissões em pelo menos 55% até 2030, em comparação com os níveis de 90. Trata-se de um objetivo muito ambicioso, mas também imperativo, e deixem-me ser clara, sem o envolvimento ativo das cidades e das áreas metropolitanas, iremos falhar. Infelizmente, não há uma bala de prata para que consigamos construir uma sociedade mais sustentável, resiliente, inteligente e verde. Da mobilidade à energia, passando pela organização do espaço público, as cidades terão de trabalhar em vários níveis para avançar rumo a um futuro melhor para os seus cidadãos. Enquanto Ministra da Modernização do Estado e da Administração Pública, gostaria de realçar, se me permitem, 3 aspectos fundamentais. A transformação digital e a melhoria dos serviços públicos, a descentralização, naturalmente, e a promoção de uma participação cívica no processo de tomada de decisão. Acredito que a tecnologia e digitalização são ferramentas importantes para promover territórios inteligentes. E, quando pensamos em territórios inteligentes, estamos a falar de cidades que utilizam a tecnologia para melhorar a qualidade dos serviços públicos, para fazer um melhor uso dos recursos disponíveis e para diminuir o seu impacto ambiental. Uma cidade inteligente é uma cidade criativa e sustentável que também aproveita a participação do público para promover o desenvolvimento económico e melhorar a qualidade de vida de todos. No que respeita à transformação digital em curso, a Administração Pública Portuguesa assume uma posição de liderança, estando em 3º lugar no e-Government Benchmark, um ranking europeu que avalia a prestação de serviços públicos digitais na União Europeia. A tecnologia e a digitalização são também instrumentos importantes para combater a baixa densidade populacional em alguns territórios e resolver problemas como a falta de habitação, a necessidade de melhorar a mobilidade e a escassez de recursos disponíveis nos grandes centros urbanos. Tudo isto é muito importante quando pensamos em territórios como as regiões metropolitanas, onde a procura por esses serviços públicos é naturalmente maior quando comparada com regiões menos populacionais. A tecnologia é também um instrumento de apoio à implementação de políticas públicas e devemos utilizá-la para aumentar a inclusão social, investir nessas ferramentas e aproveitar os benefícios que elas nos podem trazer. Os Estados têm a responsabilidade de garantir que ninguém fica para trás à medida que o processo de transformação digital avança. E, nesse sentido, o Governo português já está a reforçar o investimento em equipamentos e infraestruturas de comunicação, como o atendimento por telefone, e-mail, chat ou videochamada. Ao desenhar o Plano de Recuperação e Resiliência, o Governo português optou por investir nos serviços públicos com grande importância, seja no digital, seja também em respostas de proximidade. Num segundo ponto, queria também aqui destacar o papel insubstituível das autarquias locais na prestação dos serviços de proximidade. São os autarcas que têm um conhecimento profundo e fidedigno dos seus territórios e das suas populações. E é por reconhecer isso que o Governo promoveu também um processo de descentralização sem precedentes que está já em curso desde 1 de janeiro de 2021 para a generalidade das competências e até 1 de abril de 2022 para outro conjunto de competências. Esta descentralização não é uma mera formalidade. Trata-se, sim, de reconhecer que uma gestão de proximidade é uma melhor gestão dos dinheiros públicos e dá melhores condições às autarquias para prestar melhor os seus serviços públicos, como, aliás, a pandemia da Covid-19 veio demonstrar. E, naturalmente, que esta descentralização implica que o Estado Central proceda às necessárias transferências financeiras para a agilização e para o desenvolvimento dessas mesmas competências. A nível regional, empenhamos-nos na criação de um nível regional de decisão que é fundamental para o desenvolvimento integrado e sustentável das várias regiões do país, contribuindo para a competitividade e coesão do território. Finalmente, permitam-me deixar aqui uma última palavra sobre a importância que atribuímos à participação dos cidadãos nos processos de tomada de decisão. Por exemplo, através de instrumentos como os orçamentos participativos. Nós, decisores públicos, seja a nível local, seja a nível nacional, temos consciência que o nosso mandato é para servir as pessoas e que é importante envolvê-las no processo de tomada de decisão. As políticas públicas assentes na participação dos cidadãos são seguramente têm mais legitimidade democrática, são mais bem aceites e têm, por isso, maior sucesso quando implementadas. É preciso, por isso, envolver as populações e combinar interações físicas e digitais sempre que possível e devemos aproveitar também, por isso, as vantagens da transformação digital nesta forma de engajar as populações e os cidadãos na tomada de decisão, criando assim não só cidades mais inteligentes, mas também populações mais motivadas. Ao mesmo tempo, devemos garantir a acessibilidade e inclusão de todos os cidadãos e estabelecer processos de governança claros e transparentes para aumentar a confiança. Estou certa de que esta combinação de soluções irá não só contribuir para o cumprimento dos objetivos do Green Deal, mas também melhorar o bem-estar das nossas comunidades, que em última análise é o que se espera de todos nós. Termino, portanto, agradecendo novamente o convite para aqui estar e também desejando que o resto dos trabalhos sejam de grande utilidade, com vista a sermos capazes não só de assinar a declaração que vai ser assinada, como também depois de a operacionalizar e de implementar. Muito obrigada a todos.
I would like to say thank you to the Minister of State Modernization and Public Administration, Alexandre Leitão. The word is cooperation between the central state, the territories and the metropolitan areas. So we will move on. Remember that all those decisions and politicians and the politic decision have a significant impact in the population overall and the quality of life. So, framed by the overall theme, how to boost climate-neutral metropolitan areas, green, smart and resilient, the meeting sessions from EMA Porto Annual Forum have been designed to cover different areas of intervention by metropolitan areas. So I now like to move on to listen to the European Commissioner from Cohesion and Reforms, Elisa Ferreira.
Muito obrigada. Thank you very much. Caros presidentes, Rui Moreira e presidente da Câmara de Gaia e da Área Metropolitana, professor Eduardo Vítor Rodrigues, senhora ministra Alexandra Leitão, caro vice-presidente Pascal Maragall Mira, lembro-me bem da nossa conversa e da utilidade que ela teve. Membros do Parlamento Europeu envolvidos neste processo, senhores presidentes de Câmara, membros das áreas metropolitanas, caros amigos, senhoras e senhores, é de facto com grande prazer que me associo a este evento, promovido pelas autoridades metropolitanas europeias e organizado numa cidade que não me podia ser mais querida, porque é a minha própria cidade, o Porto. E permitam-me agora que passe para o inglês, porque penso que a comunicação se torna mais fácil. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, another event with a great impact in our lives is taking place not only here in Porto, but some 2,500 kilometers from here, the COP26 in Glasgow. However, some of the stakeholders, which will be decisive to win the fight against climate change, are in reality gathered not there, but here. It's you. In fact, cities and metropolitan areas are in the front line of climate change and are key allies in this endeavor. I am glad that this was recently recognized, namely by the Gulbenkian Foundation, which has attributed the newly created Prize for Humanity to the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy for their engagement in combating climate change. The role of cities, in fact, is central. Figures show in a very clear way how real this fact is. Cities in Europe account for around 75%, so 3/4 of the population, and 70% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So simply by the weight of numbers, we must tackle emissions in cities, and especially in the largest cities. But the influence of cities goes beyond the weight of numbers. Cities play, in fact, a key role as leaders and examples. And this is especially true in the case of metropolitan areas. Your scale and your strengths make you fit to be the pace setters of the green transition, leading the pack as beacons and examples. The conference today shows that you take this role very seriously. Cities also play a critical role in the green transition as service centers to the neighboring regions and beyond that. Modern life is marked by complex and integrated systems. When one part changes for good or for bad, this has knock-on effects on all the other systems. We saw this during COVID. It was very, very clear. And we will see this also in the green transition. These complex integrated systems include energy networks, transport, mobility, land use, construction, renovation, the circular economy, education, healthcare, production and consumption, and many more. In the green transition, all these systems must ideally change simultaneously. But where do all these systems meet? Where do they interface? Obviously, in urban areas, and especially in metropolitan areas, which act as service centers to the surrounding areas. To lead successful and effective transitions, we must start by transforming cities. This is the challenge. How can we, at the European level, support you? I see 4 major opportunities. First, the opportunity to use the post-pandemic recovery funds to improve the resilience of metropolitan areas. The Recovery and Resilience Facility is a once-in-a-generation opportunity of investment, not just in the recovery, but in a fair, green, and sustainable recovery. So it's not just recovery, it's a very specific kind of recovery that builds back better. regional and local authorities should be involved in the preparation of the national plans and in their implementation. I confirm what you have just said, Mr. Maragall. And in fact, we are putting a lot of pressure on member states so that this dialogue, this interchange is practical, is in reality a way of building the plans and building the strategies. Many of the key reforms and investments under these plans will anyway be implemented in urban areas. As metropolitan areas, you have a weight. I urge you to use it, sharing your expertise and bringing your influence to bear for the benefit of your cities as well as for the surrounding areas. Second key opportunity is the new cohesion programs. In the 2021 programs, we expect an investment of over 100 billion euros in the green transition, much of which will naturally and obviously be invested in cities. To this general opportunity, we must add the specific opportunity of earmarking for integrated development strategies amounting to around 17 billion euros. What do we expect? We expect you to factor in your role as service centers to the broader area. For example, as the hub of green mobility networks or of circular economy systems, recycling networks. In this role as service centers, you need to consider the wider urban areas from a functional perspective, neighboring municipalities, and as mentioned before, develop urban-rural linkages as appropriate and take them into account when planning your investments. We also ask you to use cohesion policy for innovative projects. For example, investing in smart mobility, in smart energy networks, or in eco-districts based on the deep renovation of buildings and the integration of renewable heating solutions across an entire district, for instance. You can also innovate around the zero-waste concept. There are already examples among some of you where strong reuse and separate waste collection have led to new repair and recycling businesses encouraged at the city level. These citywide schemes of green urban planning bring me to my third key opportunity. And here I would like to make a specific note on the new thinking, the new European Bauhaus. Some of you have been very, very strongly participating in the initiatives that were already taken. But anyway, this is such a new and challenging and motivating project that I really think it would be important that you take a second look at it, particularly those that didn't pay enough attention to it. This is a project of hope in the midst of the difficult recovery ahead of us. Let us be honest, for some citizens, the prospect of the European Green Deal is something very far away from their everyday life. The European Green Deal may seem to them very detached, something that relates to political decisions on which they don't have a direct influence. The new European Bauhaus flips the script. It is tangible and immediate, and it focuses on the benefits and the opportunities of a greener lifestyle. By using innovative design thinking, we will rethink our buildings, rethink our local areas, rethink our events, in fact, rethink our lives in a way which makes them not just more sustainable, but more beautiful and more inclusive. Hence the slogan of the new European Bauhaus, and I quote it, beautiful, sustainable, and together. This requires tangible transformations, not just of buildings, but of places and the use of spaces, of businesses and products it calls for a specific mindset, a specific new culture. Because we want to disseminate good practices, we will be financing pilot projects across Europe. We are looking for the architects of the future, those who will design and engineer sustainable, beautiful places, affordable, and promote in everyday life a real sense of quality of life. As metropolitan areas, you have the planning departments, the architectural and engineering know-how. We need desperately your expertise for our community of practices. But we will be at your side in developing those capacities and that know-how. In September, just last September, we launched dedicated calls for technical assistance. The assistance will support local authorities in finding tailored solutions for the projects they select. As this process evolves, you should act as leaders, examples, and sources of inspiration and expertise. And this brings me to the fourth opportunity at hand for metropolitan areas, the tools for experiment and for exchange of practice and experience. The European Urban Initiative will invest 450 million euros in innovative actions. The goal is to experiment with these innovations, developing solutions which can be scaled up and transferred elsewhere. The initiative will also improve city capacity in the design and implementation of sustainable urban strategies, policies, and practices, and in shaping this in a participative way. And the Minister mentioned very specifically this need to have a participative way of taking decisions and implementing them. In addition, it will promote knowledge sharing for the benefit of urban policymakers and practitioners at all levels. And this, of course, links to the urban agenda. Since Member States initiated it in 2016, this agenda has promoted the role of cities in national and European Union policies. The agenda has always had a particular focus on the green and the digital transition. The Commission remains fully, even more if possible, committed to this multi-level governance cooperation process. We are expecting Member States to renew their commitment to this process in the Ljubljana Agreement at the end of this month. So, to wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to conclude with the reminder that in an emergency, you need someone you can count on, someone with weight, someone with expertise, someone acknowledged by others as a leader and as a good example. The climate is that emergency, and I believe that the Europe's cities and metropolitan areas can be those leaders and those good, inspiring examples. You have the technical and administrative capacity, you have the scale, you have the financing, you are fit to be the pace setters of the green transition, mindful of the surrounding areas, conscious of their needs and of their potential as well. The green and smart solutions to the many different systems of modern life must be found at the hub and the interface of those cities, your cities. Those cities are the systems on which everything interconnects. Europe is providing means and opportunities from the Recovery and Resilience Facility to the new cohesion programs, multi-annual programs, to the new European Bauhaus, and various opportunities to experiment, to exchange, including the European Urban Initiative and the Urban Agenda. In all these contexts, I urge you, all of you, to share your expertise, to share your innovations, and build, put it in practice, share with others, give the others the helping hand that they will need to copy the good practices that you put in the real life of your citizens. Be good examples, share them. We are with you. Share them within Europe and beyond. So I wish you a very fruitful discussion today, and we'll go on our dialogue for the good of a better Europe and a better life for our citizens. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Elisa Ferreira, the European Commissioner for Cohesion and Reforms, that told us some new challenges. And I would like to say thank you to you, because I'm glad to hear some words about the new European Bauhaus. I think it's a very big challenge, an important one to move on, to improve, to put in our lives. I think I'm so glad to hear you talking about the new European Bauhaus. We shall now move to the signature of the EMA political declaration. I would like to ask you to move to the stage as I call you. So I will call all the cities. They are here presented, and all they are following us by internet. And the first one is from Albania, Tirana. And Vienna, Brussels, Zagreb, Brno, Prague. I think I'm saying the correct list, so it's not this one? Okay. I can change my paper, but I will call you next and you'll move on to here to the stage, if you don't mind. Prague, Helsinki, EMA, Marseille-Provence, le Grand Lyon, le Great Paris, Lille, Nice, Montpellier, Toulouse. I think I will have the correct list now. Thank you. So now, Amsterdam Metropolitan Region, Barcelona Metropolitan Area, Ernest Maragall Emida. The first one is the president of Porto Metropolitan Area, Eduardo Vitor Rodrigues, that is signing now. Now Ernest Maragall Mira. Okay. Okay. Now, Omar Al-Rawi, member of Regional Parliament and of the City Council from Vienna. From Brussels, Capital Region, State Secretary in Change of International Relations and Urban Planning, Pascal Smet. Viken Country, Oslo, Roger Rieberg, the country mayor. It's correct? No, that's not. From Lyon, okay. It's not with Lyon Metropole. Hélène Dromé? Lyon. Thank you. You can correct me, my mistakes, I'm so sorry.
Not your mistakes.
The list. That's why I don't like papers. It's better without papers, isn't it? Yeah. Now Viken County, Oslo, Roger Rieberg. Rieberg, the county mayor. Pronto. Aqui? Aqui. Juha Esklinen, Deputy Regional Mayor from Helsinki, Uusimaa region. Amsterdam. Okay.
You have here the Polish and Czech cities, Warsaw, Katowice.
Yes, they are. 3 Scrolls, a board member, Amsterdam Metropolitana region.
Am I on the list?
Bratislava. Yes, you are, of course. Yes. Thank you. Juraj Droba, the President and member of European Committee of Regions, Bratislava region. Warsaw, Michael Olszewski, Deputy Mayor. And Krakow, Metropolis, the member that represent this organization. Where are you from, sorry? Amsterdam.
Matrix and Wrocław.
Now it's the time to make a picture. Okay. Rafaela Romero, Deputation Grisbuscoa. I think it's the last. I'm so sorry. It was not supposed to be here, but I'm sorry. Now I ask that you please take a seat to move on this ceremony. I think it's the moment that the president of Porto Metropolitan area will give some projects to Elisa Ferreira. You have already the documents, so. And now I request that Kazimierz Kolozak, chairman of the board of Metropolitis GZM, comes to the stage so as we will hear to announce the EMA 22 next year. Thank you so much.
It's a difficult name, Kazimierz Karolczak. Thank you.
It's not easy.
Honorable guests, dear EMA members, dear colleagues, it's a great privilege for me, and it's my honor to invite you to the next EMA forum, to Metropolis Upper Silesia and Zagłębie, shortly GZM, and to its capital city, Katowice, 27-28 June next year. During these days, Katowice will host the 11th World Urban Forum, and for us will be a great opportunity to express our thoughts and ideas during the worldwide forum. The main theme of the 11th World Urban Forum will be transforming our cities for a better urban future, and will raise important questions about the future of cities, metropolitan areas, including the question of their future form, experience from the global pandemic and its consequences, as well as the challenges of climate change, will definitely be the part of the talks and will influence the action plan for cities to be presented during the forum. Let's take the opportunity to debate and create coherent position papers and plans for metropolitan areas during that special time of international urban debate in the heart of Metropolis GZM. Let's transform our cities, our metropolitan areas for better future. Let's meet together in Metropolis GZM in June 22. Warmly welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I will not repeat your name because it's not English. So thank you so much. One of the world's most incredible and historical wines, Porto wine, was named after Porto. It's the most famous Portuguese wines around the world. I know you know it. Mentioned by great literacy geniuses such as Dostoevsky. Porto wine is produced in the world's most ancient wine-growing demarcated region, the Douro region, and stored in centuries-old cellars in Vila Nova de Gaia, presently open to the public. And with this, I invite you all to take not a Porto, but a coffee, to make a break, and we shall resume at 11 o'clock. We'll be here again. Thank you so much. Welcome again. We will restart this forum because we are now late, so we will move on fastly. Metropolitan areas are the home for the largest share of the EU population, hosting the main economic, employment, cultural activities and key players in identification of solutions of the new challenges and their impact on the life of millions of citizens and visitors. The COVID-19 pandemic confronted politicians with new challenges, exposing some contradictions and vulnerabilities in the traditional models, but the day after opens large opportunities to rethink and redesign our cities to recover the economy. For this first panel, we will dedicate to the new Metropolitan Agenda, Rethink, as I said, Redesign and React. I ask that the Alison Gilland, Lord Mayor of Dublin, that is online, that join us to talk about a little bit for this subject. Jula S. Kalina, Deputy Regional Mayor of Helsinki, Uusimaa region, and Jean-Claude Dardelet, the Vice President for International Relations of Toulouse Métropole. Is online also. Jurab Droga, the President of Bratislava region and member of the European Committee of the Regions, and Therese Kroes, the board member of the Metropole region from Amsterdam. All come to the stage to a little bit discussion about the subject I mentioned, the new Metropolitan Agenda. And last but not the least, to moderate to the debate, I ask is that João Paulo Lourenço come to the stage also, is from Jornal de Notícias, and takes my place here on the stage to moderate this debate. Thank you so much.
Fica em pé aqui.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I have to apologize for my poor English. In fact, I haven't practiced much in the last few years, but speak no so much. But I'll do my best to everyone can understand me. It's a great honor and a pleasure to be here representing Jornal de Notícias, and an event like this with so many important people with responsibilities in the construction and planning of our cities and our collective future. At Jornal de Notícias, we have dedicated a lot of time and special attention to the challenge that cities will face after a crisis as serious as that one of COVID-19, which totally changes all our lives. I know that we often think terms only for the big cities that we know, for general culture or tourist visit. Just remember the case of Porto, where we are today. A city very well known all over the world for its enormous beauty and heritage. But Porto doesn't walk alone. There is Gaia, Matosinhos, Maia, Gondomar, and others with these strange names for most of the present, but which are directly linked to Porto and its populations. In fact, cities are not islands disconnected from their region. That is why metropolitan areas and the role they can play on thinking about common strategies are so important. The pandemic has changed in our lives and left us signs that we need to think about how we are going to organize public space, how we are going to build our cities, given more importance that certain factors such as green space and public transport systems and more. How are we going to receive and guide the tourists who visit us? In fact, in the future, even the house will have to change. Today, no one wants a house without a balcony or far from a green space. But let's listen to the experience that our guests have to tell us to better understand what this new thing can bring to us. I think the first one is the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Councillor Alison Gilland. Good.
And they will have a strong economy. In our submission to the Recovery and Resilience Fund, we focused on 3 key areas. One was energy efficiency projects, very conscious that we have increasing energy levels and that we must shift to green renewables. So we want to retrofit all our housing stock. We want to pilot a circular economy project in construction, given that this is one of our challenges, both from a housing perspective and reusing and recycling vacant buildings. We're also conscious of the need to increase the greening of our public realm and increase our biodiversity footprint, both from an environmental perspective and also for the well-being of our citizens and to support social cohesion. Another element of our focus on well-being is the creation of what we're calling well-being hubs in local communities, and very much focusing on communities that perhaps have a high level of migrants or new communities or socioeconomic disadvantage. We want to bring communities together and work with them. We also have a significant cultural regeneration project that is trying to bring culture together. We all know that over the last 18 months, artists have particularly been hit where with COVID, they haven't been able to get out and do what they need to do. And as a city, we really want to support them and bring them together and give them projects. Other infrastructure that we're pushing in very much with the green agenda and the healthy well-being agenda is cycling infrastructure. And we very much used COVID to do this. We reduced our vehicles use in the city. We put in new cycle infrastructure. We created a significant increase in traffic-free streets. We took out on-street car parking. We put in outdoor dining. And our city now looks, compared to 18 months ago, a more livable city. That doesn't mean we still have challenges. One of our biggest challenges is vacancy, both at commercial level, but also in upper floors. We've very low level of people living in some of the areas of our city centre, and we want to reverse that. So we're looking at doing a major project on vacancy in the coming months.
Thank you. I'd like also to, your resume is wonderful. I think we all understand. Just a little question. What changes are being planned and really, and now how important can be the recovery and resilience plan funds to help these new city plans?
Yes, they're very, very important. In Dublin, we have very weak local governments. We would be very dependent on our central government for funding. Now, and while we do get a lot of funding for housing and for some projects, when we want to expand, it's much more difficult. So the recovery and resilience funds would really allow us to scale up the expansion of what we're already doing.
Thank you, Lord Mayor of Dublin, Councillor Alison Gant. It's a pleasure. And now, Uva aumenta Swami. It's just a joke, speaking Finnish.
Yeah, you're speaking Finnish as well.
It's not my first language.
Your Finnish is better than your English. I'm joking.
And sorry about then your Portuguese.
But please take the mask on because I cannot see your lips. So it's making easier for answering your questions, difficult questions.
Okay. I don't know if, okay, you are listening me? Okay. Mr. Ossi Savolen.
I'm not Ossi Savola, I'm Juha Eskelinen. So.
Metropolitan Mayor of Helsinki-Uusimaa region. Well, during the pandemic, many of residents of Helsinki in this metropolitan area were forced to discover new habits. Now, with the funds from the recovery and resilience plans, will be possible to plan the city on a different mode when what the main change can be made in a metropolitan area with of 1.5 million inhabitants.
Actually, the area is 1.7 million, and it is not just Helsinki. Helsinki is included to the Uusimaa region, opposite to many other places where the capital is outside the region. So it's obligatory, according to our constitutional law, that the municipalities are members of some regional organizations. To answer your question that if this recovery plan is directly influencing into the city politics, I doubt, because it's very state-led operation. Actually, I don't blame state because they used a lot of energy to listen municipalities and regional organizations when planning the recovery, national recovery plan, which is already accepted in the European Commission. But afterwards, it's in the hands of the state administration to deliver the resources for the different enterprises and organizations. Actually, it's Business Finland and the medium-level, state-level administration, which is dealing the money, and Finnish Science Academy. And it's upon the companies and actors how good proposals they can make. So it's under the competition, it's not mandated to any places. For our region, I would say the problem, it's not the problem, but it's one of the problems is that the state is now putting a lot of pressure to battery industry and hydrogen industry. And those places are located in other parts of the country. And maybe, we don't know yet, we might be a little bit neglected in this respect. Although in our area lies the 5 universities and all the main research centers, so our task is more on innovation side. And this is the one of the plans what we have in the regional council is to to support entrepreneurship and the new innovations in entrepreneurship. And actually, the Committee of Regions has nominated us to be second time the EER, European Entrepreneurial Region, for 2021 and 2022. And we are trying to utilize this occasion by promoting entrepreneurial activities in greenfield and in digitalization. Last time we were having this nomination was 2012, and if you have followed the economic news recently, there was this Finnish company Volt, which was sold out with $7 billion to American company. And this guy who was leading this was taking part of our activities in 2012. Plus Supercell, which is the gambling game company. It was also this Ilkka Paananen, who is the CEO of that company, was part of our operation. So we are really wishing that this committee is giving the possibility to have the new innovation, and maybe in 5 years, 10 years time, we can see the new enterprises, new efforts from our business world.
That's it. Let's wait and wish that you can get it. Okay, now we go more to the south of Europe, and we travel to Toulouse. Mr. Jean-Claude Dardet, Vice President for International Relations of Toulouse Metropole, I think, is listening me. Bonjour.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Okay. Well, before I read, there is a study produced by the Toulouse Urban Development and Urban Planning Agency, Urbain, which says that the COVID crisis can be a unique opportunity to be seized to support the change of the mobility model and more generally for the urban model. About the urban model, what can be done or what is more urgent to transform in this metropolitan area with, I think, 1.4 million inhabitants?
Yes, thank you for this question. And I think that I would like, of course, first to thank our friends from Porto and everyone here, and especially in this particular day. You know, today is the last day of the Glasgow COP26 conference, and I think that it gives a special flavor to our discussion. Because I think, so also on the mobility subject, we are all going through a gigantic cultural paradigm shift, actually. All the trends that we expected or that started before the crisis actually are just being accelerated drastically. If you listen to the sociologists, you will see that in France, and I suppose it's the same everywhere in Europe, that more or less 10% of the population wants to change its life. But when I say changing its life, it's really changing its life. People want to move, they want to go to the countryside. Actually, we thought that they would move more, more to the countryside. Actually, we don't see this movement too much, but it remains, however, true. We are going through a big upheaval where we see people willing to have, I would say, two sites, one for living and one to work, closer than before. So we are working on third places, on how to adapt hotels, restaurants, and etc. And of course, the housing and the circular economy that has been mentioned by my colleagues from Dublin is of course a major subject. So the crisis more or less has been, I would call it a detonator of ecology. So we are entering presently a new civilization, an ecological civilization. We are also entering in a new digital environment, which is maybe, it could be a solution. It could also be a threat if you don't pay attention to it too much. More or less what we are observing is that the companies, the enterprises are reducing their offices surface as well as parking surface. So it's more or less, we're all about local development and more virtuous interconnections. And there we hit the subject of mobility, whereas Toulouse is investing a lot. You know, it's the second largest investment in France in terms of mobility, right after Paris. You know, whatever you do in France is always after Paris, of course. But it's an amount of 4 billion euro that are being presently invested in mobility, public transport, metro line, lift, electrical systems, cars, bicycles, etc. To develop more than ever before what we call the city of the 15 minutes. You know, everything accessible in 15 minutes, which will hit better this new sociologic pattern that I mentioned before. So we are entering in the world of deliveries, you know, the circular economy, with more links between metropolis and the middle-sized cities around, you know, in an hour or two around the metropolis. And of course, interconnections between the large metropolis in Europe. This is very important. So more or less, I would summarize the situation in 3 words: protection, you know, protect the individuals, protect the economy, protect the artists, the culture, it has been mentioned before. Second word, proximity, so circular economy, the city of 15 minutes, and mobility, make our motion more livable, more sustainable, while maintaining all the interconnections, be there in an hour pattern or throughout Europe. I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jean-Claude Dardet. Thank you for your intervention. And now, to change, to accelerate, to change, it's the words we will listen more here, because the time is time to change, and I think it's also time to catch opportunities. Mr. Juraj Drogba.
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Dobre rano Slovensko.
Dobre rano Slovensko. It's almost lunchtime, but yes, good morning Slovakia. Thank you very much. It's very good to see you again after 2 years. Last time it was in Lyon in 2019. And I think this kind of fora are very helpful to many of us for mutual exchange of information. If we like it or not, we are in a special position compared to other regions in our countries. From my own perspective, we are often looked at as the ones who are actually taking away the money from the other regions, which think that they deserve them more because they are in a different category. Many of you will probably agree with me that some of the problems that we are facing are very specific and deserve structural funding from the EU as much as other regions in our countries, but for different reasons. What I would like to put your attention on is that, for example, the region of Bratislava produces approximately 30% of the national GDP, but so one region produces 30% of all the 100%, which is produced by 8 regions. Remaining seven regions produce 70%. Nevertheless, because of the tax system, the distribution of this GDP is somewhat equal to every region. So whatever is produced in Bratislava, a lot of that goes to other regions as a subsidiarity. There are serious intra-regional disparities, but Bratislava region is the capital, which is approximately 65% of the population in our region. Remaining 35% is in the small towns and villages, which don't differ from the other 7 regions in Slovakia, which have the same typical needs, where sometimes even sewage is missing, kindergarten is missing, elementary school is missing, etc., etc. So I think that it's very important that we look at this from the perspective where the capital regions or metropolitan regions are actually serving some of the needs for the entire country, And of course, the public services are utilized and used in a much greater extent than in the other regions. For example, Bratislava region is now placed number 13 in the ranking of the European regions. Thanks God, because we were number 7 before, so now we don't look as rich as we are not. I'm quite happy about the drop of 6 positions. Nevertheless, the GDP is 173% of the EU average, which makes us look really wealthy and rich on paper. Nevertheless, we still need money for the infrastructural projects, and we need to finance especially some of the environmental, transportation, and also social problems that appear only in the larger cities and larger areas. I think that the GDP indicator is not the best one, and I think I prefer when we look at it in terms of the social progress index. Vienna is our nearest neighbor. It's only 65 kilometers away from Bratislava. On the paper, we look the same, but in reality, of course, Vienna is 20 years ahead of Bratislava in terms of the quality of living, especially because of the transportation, environment, and other areas. Our main challenges are, as I mentioned, the transportation and mobility. We have too many people driving their own personal cars, and we are trying to move them into public transportation. Of course, it's very difficult, and if some of you are also from the former communist countries, because of the lack of means that we had during communism, and it was a luxury to own a Skoda car, now everybody believes that they deserve their own car and they can park it for free in front of their own house. I'm trying to tell them, no, this is not the case if you live in a big city. A car is not your entitlement, car is a luxury and you will need to pay for it. They don't like to hear it, of course, but this is my job as an apostle or evangelist who needs to say these things. Okay, I think for the beginning intro, this would be enough.
Wonderful. You say all the things I have to ask you.
Okay.
And now let's go to the Netherlands. Goedemorgen.
Goedemorgen.
Thijs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Thijs Goos, board of member of Metropole Region Amsterdam.
Yep.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, thank you. Well, as I said to you before, this is a theme particularly I know very well because I wrote about it very often. Amsterdam was one of the first cities in Europe to announce that it was going to take advantage of the COVID crisis to introduce major changes. Amsterdam and the region, because we are here talking about the metropolitan areas, but Amsterdam as the capital of the metropolitan areas. I heard often talk about ban the foreign from traditional coffee shops, limiting access to the red light district, and these are some strategies that were tackled about. Always with the objective of not allow anymore the so-called sex and drug tourism without rules. We will have really such a different city in a short time, and what other changes in the city planning and its connection with the rest of metropolitan area did the pandemic help to identify?
Thank you. And first, let me express my gratitude to the metropolitan area of Porto and the EMA to invite us to be a participant in this event. It is an honor for me personally and for Amsterdam to pay a contribution to it. I am absolutely convinced that meetings like this and organizations like the EMA and Metrix are critical in whether we are able to play the role we are supposed to play as metropolitan areas. Only this morning, I've made connections with colleagues from all over Europe, whether it comes to mass timber housing or a hydrogen project. Us working together is what will make the difference. I'm convinced of that. When it comes to Amsterdam and its tourism, even long before COVID, we noticed in our region that the focus of that type of tourism, it got too much focus, and the historical values of Amsterdam and the world heritage around it and the valuable environments around it were getting not enough attention. Amsterdam was flooded by tourists that had only one sole purpose, and it gathered some nuisance. The livability in our neighborhoods was very much under pressure. So we already started as a region to discuss how can we make Amsterdam be valuable in a lot of senses and not just that one particular aspect. That's one. And how can we add to that with the valuable aspects of the region around Amsterdam? So we started long before COVID to address those things and make some changes. And what Amsterdam said during the COVID crisis as a first, well, we need to take this opportunity to advance in that area. So we started protecting local business owners from getting yet another souvenir shop next to them. We started to have some restrictions on rental for a short period of time. We started to invest in more diversity of tourism throughout the region as well. So in other words, we started to promote the Amsterdam region instead of the Amsterdam city. But redesigning visitor economy is very hard. So your question, will we have a very changed city in a short period of time? I don't think that will be the case.
Never in a short period of time.
Never in a short period of time, because you need to. Sometimes it asks for measures at a EU level. For example, the short period time rentals. Amsterdam, together with other EMA cities, is having a lobby right now to take European regulations on that. That takes time. You can't do that in a short period of time. And also, the region around Amsterdam can't be ready for mass tourism in the blink of an eye. We need to invest in accessibility. So yes, we will make the changes, and we are using this time to advance in that, but in a short period of time, we will not see those changes very soon. In Amsterdam, we look at the urbanization in general actually the same way. We see Amsterdam as a big heart of our metropolitan area, but we are investing in the mid-sized municipalities around Amsterdam to further urbanize them, have them create their own identity, their own economic profile. Why is that? We do not want Amsterdam to expand like other big cities in Europe have done, because the main strength of the Amsterdam metropolitan area is that wherever in the area you are, within 10 or 15 cycling minutes, you are in a valuable environment, natural environment. That's our main strength, whether it comes to tourism or to livability. So that's the way we try to create a metropole that's livable and very attractive for visitors because of the natural environment around it. Let me give you an example. As a metropolitan area, we said we are going to use mass timber and bio-based materials in all of our new housing projects, and we want 20% of the houses to be from bio-based materials or mass timber.
We can sell you that.
That's why I said just now, the connections are already being made right here, because Finland, as you all know, has more wood than I think any other country in Europe. And my personal region, from my municipality, close to Amsterdam, shortly north of it, we say, well, we're not going for 20%. We want all of our new areas to be like at least 80% mass timbered. We are gathering factories to join us in our part of the region. That is going to be our profile as a part of the region. So by having the mid-sized municipalities around Amsterdam be independent with a good economic profile and a good personal identity, you get to save the valuable landscapes around the big heart that's Amsterdam right now.
Okay, thank you. We have a little time. Let me return to Ireland again and to the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Councillor Alison Guillen. I'll ask you for now short answers because the time is also the time and never stop the watch. In case of Dublin, I know that housing is one of your priority, and I asked you what is the strategy to create more social housing, fight the housing precariousness, and offer more affordable housing.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have a serious housing crisis. It's a crisis of affordability, mostly in Dublin City